Run.
It would be an impressive victory for Juve, made even more so by the fact they beat Valencia by 2-0, having been reduced to 10 men for much of the game, and it is that red card for Cristiano Ronaldo that everybody is talking about. It's the first time he's ever been sent off in the Champions League, his 11th in his professional career. Such a strange sending off, Craig, because obviously we're watching the main feed and then we're looking at other feeds as well, trying to see if there was something that we missed. And we didn't seem to miss anything. It was a very soft decision.
Yeah, camera angles were abysmal. That's another story. There didn't seem enough in it to me at all.
Because he just kind of seemed to brush his head.
Yeah, but I think what will happen here is I don't think UEFA will rescind it. Because I don't believe it was a red card at all, but I don't believe they will, because they will point to there was contact or a pull of the hair or whatever, and they'll say, well, you're not allowed to do that. So, you know, they won't. I don't think they'll rescind it.
Really?
I don't.
But you don't think it was a red card? Was it even a yellow card?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they will budge on it because they will back the referees. I mean, this is what we've got here. We've got Europe's elite competition, and we got the World Cup, which is a great success with VAR, big pressure. We've got most of the leagues in Europe, most of the leagues with VAR, and here we have the elite of the elite, and we're relying on a couple of extra officials with their sticks behind the goal, which I know they maybe last night in the Liverpool's game they got some decisions correct. But we're talking about one of the greatest players in the world here in a competition that they're trying to win and why he's at the club, and I think that could have potentially cleared it up.
I think,
was it a red card, Chet?
No, not for me. I agree wholeheartedly with everything Craig says, including the fact that I don't think UEFA turned this over for two reasons. One is Cristiano Ronaldo, and the concern is if they do, all of a sudden they'll be accused of showing preferential treatment to one of the biggest stars in the competition. And secondly, I always feel that there has to be real need to overturn a referee's decision. He does make contact with the opponent's head, and that will be enough for them. Again, I think it's an absolutely horrendous decision. I hope that UEFA do the right thing and overturn it, but it will surprise me if they do.
Gab Marcotti with us. Gab, was it a red card?
No, it was nowhere near a red card. But I think in terms of rescinding it, as I understand UEFA's policy, they can't rescind it because the match official saw the incident. There's no. It's purely a question of interpretation. They can't afterwards look at the pictures and say, "Well, you interpreted this wrong." So in those situations, it's nearly impossible to go and rescind a red card.
Gav, I know you're very close to the UEFA president. What's his reasoning for not having VAR?
Well, he spoke about this in August in Monaco, and basically right now he said it's a technical issue in the sense that you need enough referees trained up with VAR. You need to have the right technology. They want to have one center where they can do that. They'd ideally like to introduce it from the start of the competition. In other words, from the preliminary rounds. He argued that they simply weren't set up to do it at this stage. But that said, there's no question. The clubs want VAR, and there's no real opposition to it. And I think also the fact that the new head of referees at UEFA, Roberto Rossetti, is the guy who was in charge of VAR for FIFA at the World Cup. So, they named him to lead the referees, and he's a guy who's probably the biggest expert on VAR.
Performance overall. Let's check out what else has happened in Europe this evening. Bayern Munich, comfortable 2-0 winners against Athens. Both goals scored by you-know-who, Lewandowski. Benfica 1, Ajax 1. Tadic with the equaliser for Ajax. Lyon 2, Hoffenheim 2, which means despite Manchester City's 6-goal victory, that Manchester City are not quite through yet to the knockout stages. 52 goals they've scored in all competitions this season, and a couple of goals for Jesus in that game. Moscow lost at home to Roma. Real Madrid comfortable winners away at Victoria Polsen, and as we saw earlier, Valencia beat Young Boys in the early game played this afternoon. If Manchester United do beat Young Boys, they'll have 10 points, of course, which would put them 5 ahead of Valencia now. It will mean they're through, but only if Valencia don't beat Juventus, which is probably unlikely, so he's probably right, but it's not mathematically certain. Otherwise, they'll have to go to Valencia and get a point. But overall, he's quite rightly very satisfied with his team's performance.
Yeah, and why shouldn't he be? I think today we asked before the game, can they change tactically? Can they go on the front foot from the first minute? Can they start with a little bit of a desire to go and meet a team? And they've done that, and I think that set the tone for the remainder of the game. That really tuned them in. And we were saying before, maybe this team are a team that want to go up against teams rather than just sit back and wait and have nothing got a sharp end going forward. And yeah, today at times in the game, they didn't have that sharp end at the top of the pitch in terms of creating chances, but they stayed in the game and they allowed themselves the opportunity to get something towards the end while they put the ball in the box, and the substitutions that Jose made an impact.
Yep, and it's not the first time. In the last few weeks, they've produced a couple of late flourishes that have given them important victories, Paul.
Yeah, they have. It's not something that you can say is a fluke now, because they do keep going to you. And I think, as Rio said there, it's important when you go to these big games just to stay in the game, because at times you're going to be under pressure, you're going to be under the cosh, you're going to concede chances, and that's exactly what they did. And both subs, I think, made a difference. Mata, obviously, with his free kick, we know the quality he has, and Fellaini was just being a nuisance, really, for the free kick, and he made a big difference.
Being a nuisance, one of his great strengths.
I'll tell you what, no, but it had a big impact on the end of it. Look, if he doesn't jump for that ball, in the end, I think it's Chiellini, he gets out the way, because I think Fellaini's just too big, and he did. He made himself a nuisance. In the end, that led to the goal.
I'll just say one thing, is that bad defending from Juventus? Because, if it was the other way around, would we be criticising? Is the crisis officially over?
Listen, you can't underestimate can't underestimate how big a result that is. Yeah. What Juventus have done in that stadium over the last few years has been nothing short of remarkable. So to go there and put in a performance which was solid, the basis of it was solid, and to be able to just manage the game and stay in the game and then nick it at the death is a fantastic achievement for this group of players.
It's also quite enjoyable to sit here with 3 former Manchester United heroes and not have to be depressed at the end of the game. Right, Paul?
Yep. Makes a change, doesn't it? No, look, to go to this place, it's a great achievement, it's a great win. We know for so many years they've been such a dominant team. And at times tonight they were dominant, Juventus, they were good, but United, when you go to away games, big away games, you need to ride your luck at times, and they did do that on occasion tonight. They stuck in the game, and thankfully they got the win. Yeah,
it didn't look like it was going to go that way. Extraordinarily sweet strike from Ronaldo, from a great ball.
Wow, I mean, the ball from Bonucci.
Yeah.
I mean, Rio was a pretty good centre-back pass for the ball, but Rio, this ball is outrageous, isn't it?
It's ridiculous.
Precision of everything.
He even gives it a bit of the eyes, but the movement. You try and look at Lindelof to say, is it bad defending? The movement from Ronaldo, the timing of the ball and the run, and then the finish. Look at David De Gea. Exactly. If you look at David De Gea, it's a look of despair. Like, what could I do?
His reaction is brilliant. Isn't he? He just couldn't believe it.
He had to get the abs out to let people know what's going on.
Well, he doesn't want a yellow card to take the whole shirt off.
Anything could happen. Juventus is still going to qualify.
Man United, easy game at the weekend. the derby, I suppose it's vitally important morally to get that victory this evening. Gives them a lot more confidence.
Look, to get through this test, which nobody would have anticipated, to going into that game against City, look, they're the underdog, but they've shown they can do a bit of a smash and grab and get a result. Why not on Sunday again?
Confidence will be up.
It will be up, and I think it'll be very similar tonight. I know they'll be backs to the wall, left to right, look at times, but hopefully they can get that 1 or 2 goals they need to win.
Go forward, have a go, no?
Exactly, but they've been to Turin, hard place to go. Etihad's going to be very similar.
OK, we're just about out of time. We'll be joining Matt Smith with the highlights in just a few seconds. He'll have Chris Sutton with him. Rio, it's your birthday. We're going to celebrate big time tonight. Over to you, Matt.
Thank you very much. Quite a day for Rio.